Hey guys, welcome to the Sharks Academy's weekly market analysis. And the first pair that I'll be talking about will be the Aussie dollar. So clearly we have a break of market structure over here. And at this point of time, we have liquidity highs lying above at this level. So naturally, we are looking for a buy, right? And where are we buying from? The low that caused the break of structure comes from this level ultimately. So yes, you can look for demand zones over here and here. So now let's jump down to the lower time frame. So now you can see that there is a clean 1 hour demand area over here. And this is where we are looking to get involved, understanding that there is lows to be cleared out. So a tap, a shift, and a break of structure would bring us to higher areas over here. So this should be the shift of structure, right? So if you want, you could refine this level. So let's go down to the 15 or the 5 minutes. And you can see this is an inside bar. And this could be used as your POI. Well, so what are we looking for? For those who are operating on the lower time frame, you can go down to the 5 minutes or even the 1 minute to look for a shift at this area. So when prices comes back down, starts to create liquidity, then the break of structure, these could potentially move prices higher. And what happens if prices comes up to mitigate this level? Let's say over here. Then we understand that prices may have the incentive to go lower, to grab liquidity here. And then the real shift may happen here. So you can see that we are still working on this demand zone, and we do not expect a shift over here by means of break of structure to bring prices towards liquidity highs. This may have the potential to push prices higher, but this can happen many times inside your 1 hour POI before it actually shifts for the liquidity highs on the higher time frame. Next up, we have the dollar index, and you can see previously we marked out this demand zone as well areas over here. So prices did bounce, and we are still looking for liquidity highs to be met, alternately trading into this liquidity area. This means that we are bullish on DXY, and you can see that currently prices taps into a POI, the 4 hour, right? Gave us a rally, gave us a break in market structure over here as well. So this means that we have the incentive for prices to move higher into liquidity highs over here, right? So now, this means that prices has the incentive to go higher. And how do we go about that? Go down to the lower time frame to look for demand areas. So you can see right off the bat on the daily time frame, you have a break of structure here. So this entire sell to buy is valid for buys. So you can go down like this, right? And our job over here is to look for refined areas so that we do not have to work with this entire demand area, because this is on the daily time frame. The entire demand is so huge, right? So if you go down to the 4 hours time frame or the 1 hour time frame, you can look for the order flow. Okay. So let me remove this, and you understand, okay, now we have demand areas to work with over here, this as well, and this. So all of these are areas for you to get involved for buys. So this is a bullish bias for DXY, and we're looking to look for buys of these levels as well as these levels. And similarly for the bottom one. So look for buys, look for bullish buyers onto DXY. May not be now because you expect prices to pull back. So a pullback on the DXY means that dollar is going lower into these demand areas before we are looking for buys. Next up, the euro pound. So right off the bat on the daily time frame, you can see that we are clearly in a sell side structure, and you will realize that the market context changes when you're looking at this on the weekly time frame. So you can see over here, prices are now sitting on a weekly demand area. So this tells you that prices may move off from here because you are trading on a weekly POI, and this is low enough, right, on the weekly perspective. So based on the lower time frame, we realize that on the 4 hours now, we have this move over here. You can see this is an institutional move, right? We have this move, grabs liquidity, breaks down all of these areas over here. All of the orders lying beneath here has been grabbed, right? The sell to buy that broke structure. So now immediately I'm looking for buys, right? So on my immediate time frame, the 4 hours time frame, I'm looking for buys, okay? And where am I buying from? So now clearly on the 2 hours time frame, we have a potential demand area for us to get involved already. So you can look down to the lower time frame, maybe the 15 or the 5 minutes, to look for a structural shift. Understanding that this will be used as a grab for prices to move lower than the break of structure. So this will be the trade idea for Euro Pound, right? The break of structure, leaving behind demand areas to get involved. Next up, we have the Euro Yen. So you can see prices broke structure here and eventually broke down at this level. And this makes me believe that prices want to hit lower. But if I want to sell, where do I sell from? I want to sell high, right? I want to sell at this area. This is the buy to sell that broke structure over here. So prices may move up into this supply shifts to head lower. Okay. And this means that we could buy into the sell area, then take sales from here. So we can have a buy entry and sell over here. So on the 4 hour time frame, we can see that we have a break of structure over here, leaving behind a demand zone on the 8 minutes time frame. And we can be a buyer. And how do we buy? So now break of structure here on the 15. Okay, so you can see on the 15 minutes, this is a trend line, and this may be liquidity, right? For prices to break down before shifting. So if you are to operate on the lower time frame, which is the 1 minute time frame, then you understand that, okay, this break of structure happens here. Right, we have a BOS, we have a BOS. So now prices are delivering higher, and this will continue to deliver higher until this low is broken. Okay, again, break of structure. If I want to buy, where do I buy from? I want to buy from here, right? So this bullish move on the lower time frame will continue to deliver higher, right? And we are going to buy over here. Next up, we have the euro dollar, and you can see we have a break of structure at this level, and we are trying to catch buys into this area over here. So at which point of time do you want to be a seller? Do you want to sell here? We want to wait for this demand to fail. Then we catch sales, which means to say we want to look for a break, then a pullback into supply areas here to sell. So this is the only way we're going to look for sales, okay, after the demand failed. Otherwise, drop down to the lower time frame to catch buys. And how do we do it? We are going to look for a high time frame shift, which means to say sell, a low being created and broke, a break of structure over here. Then we're going to look for buys, right? If I want to trade on the 1 hour time frame, this is how I'm going to look for buys. A break of structure on the 1 hour time frame, leaving behind demand areas for me to get involved. And this way, we could potentially be buying into higher highs, ultimately trading into this level over here. Next up, for the pound yen, we are definitely looking for sells and potentially grabbing the sell side liquidity over here. So now, can we look for sells when prices comes back here? Yes, because we have a break of structure here. And this means that we have potential to tap into this supply before breaking down. So if I were to mark out the entire supply zone, it's this level. So of course, we're going to refine this. This is too huge, right, on the 4 hours. So simply go down to the 30 minutes or the 15, and you can see over here, we have a refined 30 minutes zone. And this is where I'm going to look for sells, right? I'm going to wait for a lower time frame, shift in market structure. So when prices steps into my supply, of course, delivering bullishly in order for prices to tap into this level, right? Then look for the shift, catch sells. And then again, understand that prices may shift multiple times inside your supply before moving off. And I could stop out many times before catching the real move down. So this is the trade idea that you should have in your mind when you're trying to trade off the 1 minute time frame. And of course, if you are looking at the 1 hour time frame or the higher time frame, like the 15 minutes, then the chances of you getting stopped out multiple times in this supply will be lesser, right? Because the moves are bigger. And you can see on the 15 minutes, we can even refine this. And this gives us a tighter range to work with. So now, if the 15 minutes shifts over here, chances of it making a higher shift will be lower, right? Because the moves are bigger and you won't get stopped out so many times. Next up, for the pound dollar, we are definitely looking for sells. And we can see this is the break of structure. This is my liquidity lows, and this is my protected high. So now, how am I supposed to catch sells downside, right? So prices taps into some sort of a POI over here. Let's go and look for it, whether we have a POI to work with. So you can see clearly there is a buy to sell over here. Okay, and prices now reacts to it over here. So you can see on the 4-hour time frame, you have a clean break of structure over here. And if you are a trader who is trading on the 4-hour time frame, this is the sell move that you're looking for to go lower. So how am I supposed to sell this? Where am I supposed to sell with? Okay, go down to the lower time frame, look for POIs to work. And over here, we have a buy to sell, right? And on the 30 minutes, we have another buy to sell over here. So both of these are POIs for you to work with. And for us, we are looking for confirmations. Understanding that on the 4-hour time frame now, protected high is here. Liquidity lows is over here. So this is the range that we are working with. And you can simply drop down to the lower time frame to look for the shift in structure, understanding that prices should deliver bullishly before you can take sells over here. Then the market shift and breakdown. And again, understanding that this shift over here by means of break of structure may not necessarily bring prices lower to your liquidity lows. It may tap into a point of demand over here and then makes a higher high before shifting. So we can get involved 2 or 3 times inside of this POI and over here as well. So over here, we have the New Zealand yen, and I really like this trade because of how prices are moving. So you can see we have a sell structure here, we have a buy structure here, and all of these are manipulation and inside structure, right? So the first thing that I looked at would be this retail support area, and this makes me believe that prices may push prices higher before breaking down and then moving higher. So this is the idea that I had in mind, understanding that there is a trend line liquidity here as well. So we are going to look for buys into this area, then the sell off to grab the support retail support over here before moving higher. And how do we do that? First of all, understand that we have a break of structure here. That means to say that in this internal structure, liquidity high is over here. So we could look for areas over here to buy into this buy side liquidity, eventually tapping into supply before shifting lower to grab all of this. Then the real shifts happen here for higher prices to be met. Okay, so now on the lower time frame, how do we catch a move? Okay, first of all, understanding that we're going to wait for a break of structure here on the 4-hour, on the 1-hour. Okay, so buy side, BOS. Wait for the break of structure here. Then pull back towards the demand zones over here for buy side. So we're going to mark this out. This is a potential buy area, right? After we see the break of structure. So go down to the lower time frame. You can see clearly a 30 minutes demand area. And this will be the trade idea that we have, right? A break of structure over here, a pullback, look for the shift in market structure before you take buys. Next, we have the New Zealand dollar. And now we are waiting for either side for break of structure, right? So now we can see this is the low and this is the high. So I'm waiting for a break of structure on either side. If prices were to make its way higher, then I'm going to look for pullback into demand zones inside of here or buy side. Otherwise, simply wait for a break of structure towards the low side. Then look for the last buy to sell for prices to be met over here. So pretty straightforward for New Zealand dollar. Lastly, we have the USD CHF. So what is the market structure telling us? First, break of structure over here taps into a demand area. And prices now continues to deliver higher, right? We have a break of structure over here. So ultimately, we are trying to trade into this supply or liquidity highs, right? And you can see that we haven't tapped into our supply zone yet. So this means that liquidity high should be here. So on the weekly time frame, this is our buy side liquidity. And our low would be this level over here. So can you see where did this move come from? If you drop down to the lower time frame, you understand that this is a potential POI. You can see this demand over here was left unmitigated and now came back to tap into this level. So how are we going to trade this? First of all, go to the lower time frame. You realize that yes, we have a 1-hour BOS over here. So prices may come back towards this demand zone for us to get involved. And this is where I'm looking to buy from. And of course, looking for the shift in market structure on the lower time frame to bring us into buy side liquidity over here. Because you can see this is the range we are trading. The low, the high, the break of structure, the demand area that was left unmitigated. And over here, I'm looking for a shift to buy. So take profit number one would be here, because this is the new range that we established by means of the confirmation on the lower time frame. Then secondary, take profit will be here. If you have managed to stay through the entire video, we are now having a giveaway for community members to actually experience what it's like to have a proper mentorship program for 2 weeks. So yes, fill up the form given in the description below, and we'll choose the best answers to reward those who have the heart and the passion to trade.